Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thanks to coming to this this section hosted by Deakin Cyber Research and Innovation Center. I'm Lennon Chang. I'm associate professor in risk and policy at Deakin University. Together, we got another co-convener, Professor Chad Wellham, who is the deputy director of the Deakin Cyber Research and Innovation Center. Before I start, following our Australian culture, that I would like to acknowledge the traditional owner of the land where we log on from, and pay respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging. And if we have any indigenous or original people joining us, we especially like to welcome you and thank you for joining us. So today we will have two parts of this section. The first part would be a presentation from individual presenters, and the topic will be covering policing cybercrime in the Indo-Pacific region. So in the coming hour, also you'll listen to different presentations covering China, India, Canada, Vietnam, and Korea and Thailand. And the second half will be chaired by Professor Cheng Whalen on a discussion on the new UN Convention on Cybercrime and its impact towards the region. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. The first speaker is a newly minted Doctor, Dr. Zhou Yu Zhao. He is a PhD candidate at Monash University. We just got the result back. Congratulations, you. He he will be talking about cyber fraud and policing in China and crime displacement, which is very much based on what he has researched in his PhD. So I'll pass the microphone to you.
Thank you, Lennon. Thank you so much. So now I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. So, conclusion. Go back to first page. Sorry, can't see it. Okay, okay. So thank you everyone for today's joining today's conference. So today I'm going to present the majority topic or research findings from my PhD studies, policing cyber fraud in China, especially focusing on how Chinese police react from the organizational level and tactical level to the cyber fraud and the outcome of policing cyber fraud, which is crime displacement. I'm gonna briefly introduce the backgrounds and the research design or methodology and go into
I think it's lagging. Yep, are you back? Are you back?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Last time we're having Zoyo to present at the moment. So
Hello.
we can't hear you. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. Last time we have the first presenter presenting. So can you mute yourself, please? Are you back? We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Or obviously there are some technical issues. So I guess Marie, do you want to take over and do the first presentation?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that might be better, and we can have Yi later.
Okay, perfect. So I will share my screen. Great. So hopefully everything works well. Hi, everyone. My name is Marie-Pier Villeneuve-Dubuc. I am from the University of Montreal in Canada, currently a visiting student at Deakin University in Melbourne. So I will be sharing about my PhD project, kind of the preliminary results of it, because we've only done the Canadian data collection so far, and it is a comparative study between Canada and Australia. So it's an ongoing project, but I'm happy to be sharing a bit about that big project. So we'll be talking about the private sector perspectives on cybercrime investigations. So the challenges when it comes to collaborating with Canadian law enforcement agencies. So to give a bit of context, of course, if you're attending a cybercrime conference, you know that there is a massive increase in cybercrime incidents, such as ransomware, data breaches, and etc. And of course, Canada is also a victim country of this massive increase. And as we kind of know, since I'm the first to talk in this panel, there is some kind of major challenges for law enforcement agencies when it comes to investigating, prosecuting, disrupting cybercrimes, such as the lack of financial or human resources, training gaps between different cyber units, and outdated legal frameworks that they have to work with. And in the literature, it has been shown that there is a strong need to improve the public and private collaboration between law enforcement agencies and the private sector to effectively respond to cyber threats. Although that collaboration is not easy because we are working with entities who have different aims. Just to give a little bit of context about the Canadian policing system. So it is a 3-level of policing. So there is the federal level that covers the entire country and covers more broader, more organized, complex crimes. And then we have the provincial, which is kind of regional level of policing. And we have local law enforcement agencies. Something that is interesting to know in this context is that there has been a new establishment of a National Cybercrime Coordination Center, the NC3, that occurred maybe 3 years ago now, so it's still very new, and that aims to enhance national coordination between these law enforcement agencies. So for the research questions, like I said, my PhD project is a bit broader than what we will be tackling in this presentation, but in general, we want to know how does the experience of police officers and private companies in Canada and Australia exchange. Right, I just need to switch that. Thank you, sorry. So my research question is, how does the experience of police officers and private companies in Canada and Australia compare in the context of information sharing for cybercrime investigations? For this presentation, I will be only focusing on the private sector side and what they've shared with us about what they've experienced as being the main challenges when it came to collaborating with different levels of law enforcement agencies. So I won't cover all the research questions. That's only what we're going to be talking about today. When that will change. Okay. So for the data, the method, research design, it is a qualitative method study. So we use, in order to identify themes and sub-themes, there is a strong strong measures for confidentiality that has been put, because we are working with multiple law enforcement agencies and different people in the higher level of hierarchy and different cybersecurity stakeholders, companies. So yeah, that is definitely a big aspect of this project. We use the semi-structured interview format to allow and have more in-depth discussion with participants. So far we have 26 interviews in Canada. That covers almost equally. On one side, we have our participants from the private sector, cybersecurity stakeholders, which include incident response teams, private investigators, tech firms, banks, telecommunication companies. And on the law enforcement side, we have mainly investigators, some surgeons from the federal cyber units, provincial police, and municipal investigators as well. So we have that kind of multi-level that has been covered. And for the analysis, so we use NVivo to do the analysis, and we have the ethic committee has been approved by the University of Montreal. So to jump in, I can't see my time, so hopefully I'll be all right. But for the preliminary results, these are kind of the main themes that so far has been identified under the big umbrella of challenges. So to keep that in mind, the first thing that has came up a lot was the lack of clarity of legal framework. So participants indicated confusion. Even when chatting with them, they didn't know exactly what they were allowed to do, what they wasn't allowed to do, and that changed a lot depending on the participants. And that also caused a reluctance to collaborate without the proper legal protections, which is very understandable. But that kind of lack of clarity and that strong need to have a legal protection kind of influence some participants to be more reluctant to collaborate. Also, one thing that was shared was the lack of the lack of communication channels that were standardized, because it kind of changed. Every participant has experienced a complete different experience and different means to communicate. Some was through email, some were only in person, some were on calls, some were sending documents through different ways. So it changed completely from each law enforcement agency. So that was kind of complicated precisely for big companies who they have to collaborate quite often with different law enforcement agencies. It became kind of really confusing as to how do we actually interact with these partners, public partners. So there was that. And also there was the multi-jurisdictional challenges. So the fact that, yes, there are, like I said at the beginning of this presentation, there are 3 levels of policing, and sometimes our participants from the private sector side shared that they felt that the information wasn't shared between other law enforcement agencies, and that sometimes caused them to have to repeat the information often, which is not great. Precisely if you're a victim of a cybercrime, then you have to repeat constantly your experience. That kind of caused a re-victimization over and over again. And also, one thing when it came to choosing to collaborate or not, there was definitely that was a theme that came up a lot, was the perceived risk of legal liability and reputational damage, because that was something that the private participants shared, that they were kind of always thinking as, should we collaborate with the public sector? How would it look like in the media? So that kind of media test, it has some kind of impact on our company if we do so. So that was definitely an influential factor as to whether or not they would collaborate with the public sector. So I inserted a few quotes, because I think it's always nice to see what people said. So the names are completely random. So just to give more insights. So our first not the first, but the first one in this case. So Casey, a cybersecurity incident response professional, said that the law enforcement takes a report and that's it. They don't have the tools, and the private sector is left to handle it. So we can clearly see here that from his experience, from their experience, there was a perceived lack of resources from the law enforcement part, and they felt that the weight to handle that incident came back to them. Another thing that came up, they shared, I harass them. If I don't push, nothing moves. So that's kind of something that happened a few times, that they felt that they had to communicate, they had to push the communication so that they could have some kind of feedback and see some kind of impact when they collaborated. Another participant, Jordan, a cybersecurity investigator from a private firm, said that in their case, they provide reports to the police, but they said that it's one way. They rarely hear any feedback or follow-up. So again, communication challenges here. The police investigations are stalled because they lack the expertise to deal with technological crimes. So again, a perceived lack of expertise to be able to handle these cases. Taylor, cybersecurity director from a consulting firm, they actually initiated a great initiative to counteract on that communication barrier. So they created a monthly meeting with a provincial law enforcement agency, and they say that it's the only way to keep things moving. So again, we can see that, we can sense that communication barrier once again. And another thing is that they said that when it's a municipal case, it just goes into a black hole and no one follows up. That was also something that kind of came up a lot. These barriers, these challenges that comes with the level of law enforcement agencies. It is quite known that smaller law enforcement agencies don't have the same capabilities as the higher ones, such as federal ones, and that kind of came back to us as to big challenges. They just don't feel that nothing's going to happen if they report to a smaller local law enforcement agency. So I really have no idea how I'm going on time, but here I am on the discussion and conclusion. The main conclusions, well, the private sector, we can feel like we saw that there is kind of some frustrations when it comes to communicating and sharing information. There are some legal uncertainties. I didn't talk about the precise laws. I didn't want to bore everyone, but there was some questions a lot, and I felt it just by speaking with the people. At some point, they were asking me questions, so we can feel that there is a need to have more understanding of the laws when it comes to this. The problems when it comes to having a system that has different levels of law enforcement agencies and sharing information between them. So the implications for policy and practice, there's a need to enhance a more standardized communication protocol for in between these level of policings. And we do know that it's quite new, that there is a new center that is that should be focusing on that precisely, but it's still new, and we can see that there is a need for improvement still, and there should be a better legal framework to protect the private stakeholders during cybercrime cooperation, and increase trust building initiatives to foster reciprocal exchanges. Like we saw, there has been some great initiatives to keep that communication ongoing, such as meetings, to enhance trust and communication. So for the next steps of this project, I will be completing the remaining 24 to 30 interviews until saturation here in Australia, so that we can have a better comparative component, and also share the findings to inform policy and improve collaboration. So that is it for me. I believe we're doing the question at the end.
Yep. Thank you, MB. We'll do the Q&As at the end, but if you have any audience who got any questions, you can pass it to Michael, and Michael will pass it to us. Thank you, MB. Sorry, I forgot to introduce you. You people also so probably thinking about why Canada is included in the Indo-Pacific region, but MB is now a visiting fellow, visiting scholar at Deakin University as well, and she's collecting her data at Australia. And of course, when we're talking about Indo-Pacific, we'll try to broaden it to include US and Canada in some sense. So I think it would be good to it would be a value added for people to really understand more broadly not only the Asian perspectives but also Western perspective as well. Thank you, MB. Are you back?
Yeah, so sorry for the internet problem.
No worries.
Kind
Do you
of
want
based
to
in
put on your
China.
PowerPoint and continue?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Okay. So today I'm going to introduce the majority part of my PhD thesis, policing cybercrime in China, especially the structural and tactical responses, and also the outcome of cybercrime policing. I'm gonna briefly introduce the background and go straightforward to research findings and do some conclusion limitations for the research. So the background, current research, cybercrime has become one of the most prominent criminal issues, not only in China, but in a global context. And based in the official reports in China, cybercrime has occupied more than 50% of total criminal cases. And recently, China announced their success for successfully preventing 163 billion from losing to cybercrime. But however, there is no nuance or details from their official reports or the public reports for how they're doing that and what would be the perception from the police officers. So really limited empirical understanding so far. I have collected the statistics from the public and official reports showing that since 2016, they only reported how much has been protected from losing to cybercrime. And before 2016, they just report both the reported financial losses and also the protected losses. And I think the most interesting thing here would be within 3 years, they have alerts to successfully protect the huge amount of financial losses from losing to cybercrime. And this actually lead to one of my or two of my key research questions. How would they deal with that? And how would they perceive the outcome? So given the time limitation, I'll only focus on the second and the third research question. How Chinese police officers perceive the rules of specific policing practices, and how do they evaluate the outcome of the policing practices? The method pretty simple, semi-structured interviews with only 21 Chinese police officers, which was not my aim because I was aiming for at least 30 to 40. But however, given some political issues, not for my personal, but I mean for the structural political issues, there was some anti-foreign investigator or foreign researcher sentiment. So my interviews paused after the kind of the national campaign. I used quota sampling for collecting the data from central to local policing agencies. The central one, the Ministry of Public Security, and the provincial one, city level one, and also the county level one. So now I'm gonna go into the 3 research findings. And the first one to demonstrate the structural responses from Chinese police. They have built up 2 policing networks. One is the public, another one is the hybrid. I've introduced later. So the public policing network has been called as interministerial joint office. They do not use the word policing network, but actually the function of the organization is exactly what the policing network means. It was only established for no more than 10 years, so 9 years so far. It was led by Ministry of Public Security, and composed of other 22 central departments. So as you can see from this figure, the number of institutions can be categorized into 3 domains: financial system, telecommunication information system, and also criminal justice system. And it has the central leader, the police department, central leader, so-called the Ministry of Public Security. And there are some benefits based on my interviews with the central and also local police officers. So they can share the intelligence. So the internal cross departments, they can share no matter the big data or the new intelligence they have analyzed from their domestic jurisdiction. So they can share between the departments. And secondly, they can do some collaborations. Although the collaboration can be sometimes limited and sometimes limited in the different jurisdictions. And the collective decision making can be made by the MPS, the Ministry of Public Security, or the local level public security bureaus, the police bureaus, once they have collected the information, the intelligence from different institutions. However, there are also some disadvantages or limitations, such as conflict of interest. For example, the Ministry of Public Security, they want to reduce the registration, the bank registration. However, financial system, they just want to increase the bank registration because they want to increase their KPI. So their KPI under this context can be conflictory. And the second one, financial repression. For the policing cyber fraud, they have to implement a different kinds of crime campaigns, including anti-money laundering initiatives. So anti-money laundering initiatives can restrict the financial transactions, even sometimes can be prohibiting some normal transaction based on the data modeling. So that's the 2 limitations for the public policing network. And the second policing network, I call the police industry partnership, which is the hybrid policing network. The police agency collaborates with private tech companies to build up big data policing system. Some literature also called the intelligence-led or technology-driven policing. So the big data policing system functions comprehensively for data collection and also the intelligence analysis. And most importantly, it can lead to the intelligence resource allocation, all based on the big data policing system. Some benefits from this collaboration: it can resolve the technological challenges, such as merit research funding. The collaboration between public sector and private sector can be really hard to be achieved sometimes because of the technology challenges, the lack of expertise, IT expertise. But however, Chinese police, they just recruit some private IT experts to work for them and pay them the money, like the outsourcing police. This is technological outsourcing. So it can resolve some kind of the technological challenges. And secondly, it can enhance the fraud detection because they also use AI and data modeling. The data modeling can based on the previous, for example, the dialing history to analyze what kind of the account would be the fraudulent account and what would be the fraudulent calls and label them out. And based on the new data, they just predict the new fraudulent calls and messages and to prevent them in advance. So it can kind of increase the fraud detection and prevention rate. And next, it can increase the efficiency. So once they identify the problem, they will give the problem into the tech companies. Police itself do not address maybe the major tech challenges. So they just outsource the major challenges to the tech companies, and they go back to the criminal investigation and collaborations with different institutions. So that kind of the labor division from this hybrid policing network. However, also some limitations or shortcomings from the hybrid policing network. The first one, reverse power dynamics. So for the outsourced policing in the previous literature, we found that like the civil police, they just do some dirty work. They just do some documentary, do some policing patrol, sometimes in China, and do some really modern and minor criminal investigation, not that critical and significant. But however, here in this context, the big data policing system, police itself found really passive in the relationship. They have to give a lot of money to keep the subscription and maintenance fee for the platforms, and they have also to proactively maintain the relationship with the IT experts. So because they have a lot of criminal cases, from data analysis, different things for them to arrange. And the second limitation would be selective policing, because the private policing, the technological outsourcing, have to pay a lot of money and continuously pay for the maintenance fee. The minimum from one of the interviewee told me that the minimum would be 500,000 AUD 1 year, which is really expensive for the local Chinese jurisdictions. So because of the expensive services, it leads to some kind of the selective policing, because not every jurisdiction can be affordable for these services, for the big data policing system. So without the big data policing system, the efficiency can be decreased. The effectiveness can also be compromised. The third one, privacy and security paradox, which I may introduce more in a panel discussion for the new UN convention. Now I'm going to move to the second research funding, the tactical responses, apart from the organizational arrangement, which serves the proactive policing patterns from the anti-fraud center, which is the special policing unit in the Chinese policing system. So as you can see from this figure, the anti-fraud centers has been affiliated under the 4 levels of the policing system: national, provincial, city level, and county level. And for each level of the anti-fraud centers, they have multiple branches, which are specialized in different tasks or duties. Some do research for data collection, some do financial branch for the anti-money laundering, crime prevention branch, crime campaign, like the card-cutting campaign for bank card and SIM card, and victim service for people who are victim and contact to the anti-fraud centers, give them some assistance and guidance. So anti-fraud centers, they have launched a lot of practice or tactics against cyber fraud. I just used the situational crime prevention theoretical framework to map out the majority, or maybe the most significant strategy they use for reducing and preventing cybercrime, cyber fraud. Situational crime prevention strategy, they have 5 components: increase risk, increase effort, reduce rebate, remove excuses, and reduce provocations. For increase of risk, they just use routinized cyber fraud campaign. So for someone who knows the policing the policing literature in China, you may know that the policing in China has long been a campaign style, which is intensive, short-term, and selected. However, in the cyber fraud policing context, I just found out that they just routinized the campaign, which means it lasts for the long term, but it's still selective. I still focus on specific type of crime, such as they focus on the anti-money laundering, the carding campaign, bank card and SIM card. And for increased effort, they create the cyber fraud blacklist, which is affiliated and the big data policing system. And they also do the AI for do the data modeling for that, which is really effective and cost effective. For reduce the reverse, they introduced the 2 types of victim focused intervention. The first one based on the general public who has not fallen into the victim, the cyber fraud victim. They just send the message and create some public propaganda through multiple media platforms to increase the vigilance for anti-cyber fraud. And for those who have fall into the victim, they have multiple layers. For those who just received the fraudulent message, receive the fraudulent call, and receive multiple fraudulent calls, they will give different interventions. For example, send the messages, specific messages, or give the specific calls, and finally do the person-to-person, door-to-door persuasion. They call it persuasion, to persuade someone not to transfer the money to the fraudulent accounts. removes excuses, which has been achieved by the anti-fraud cyber fraud legislation, which is one of the first cyber fraud specific legislation in the world, which enable a lot of criminalization for the different criminal activities, anti-money laundering, cyber fraud, and different cyber fraud assistant activities. And for the last one, I think would be kind of sensitive or critical to the jurisdiction, which has been called, that's translated to Chinese, that's translated from Chinese, hotspot governance, 高危地带. This has been terminated after 2018, which was used by some jurisdiction, not all jurisdictions, some jurisdiction to sweep out the local offenders to other jurisdictions. Because once the local jurisdiction has been labeled as cyber fraud hotspot, they view the director of the local jurisdiction will be prohibited from promotion within 3 years, which is really like serious political censorship, political punishment. So they will use any sort to sweep out their local offenders, identify offenders to other jurisdictions. So there won't be any many offenders for them to be labeled as hotspots. But this one has been officially terminated by the Ministry of Public Security, which also acknowledged the shortcomings, the disadvantages, such as crime displacement, which was notified by one of my interviewees. The benefits limitations are pretty explicit from the proactive approach, which is situational crime prevention of anti-fraud centers. The first benefit is embracement to proactive policing, which has long been criticized by the Chinese policing literature because of the campaign style or reactive policing in history. The second one, increase the criminal cost and risk. For example, for the bank cards previous to the establishment of the fraud center, one bank card only valued for 50 RMB, but now, right now in China, it was more than 2,000 RMB, increased 50 times at least. And cost effective, they use a lot of technology such as big data policing powered by the AI, big data modeling to do the automated crime prevention, crime detection, which is really cost effective from the perspective of interviewees. And for the limitations, such as the procedure justice, the hotspot regulation, the hotspot governance, reduce the provocation. They also acknowledge kind of the procedure injustice, although they still found out that they have no choice to do that. The campaign style policing has been still silent in the front line, the local level policing this, because the local police officers, they found really hard to be adaptive to the new technology, such as big data policing system. And finally, the final limitation would be crime displacement, which is my third research finding.
Well,
The cyber fraud displacement. Okay, I will quickly.
Maybe wrap quickly.
Yeah, sorry for that. So based on the interviews and analysis, I found out that crime displacement has been facilitated by early stage Chinese policing strategies. However, policing is not the sole factor for facilitating the crime displacement. We have to also think about the criminal motivations and also the criminal opportunities, especially policing capacity for addressing criminal motivations and opportunities. So maybe we don't have enough time to introduce the newest data here. So this is my conclusions here. So cyber fraud policing is hardly achieved through policing itself. It needs some network or collaborations, no matter domestically or internationally. A network and proactive policing is promising, but it should be implemented with procedure justice. And policing is not the sole driving factor of crime displacement. Opportunities and motivation should also be considered. Limitations because of the limited number of interviewees, the representativeness can be questioned for a while or for some scope, despite using the quota sampling. And transferability, so whether the Chinese policing experience or lessons can be transferable to different jurisdictions, for example, especially the Western context, will need further investigation, further research. And for the evolving nature, the technology evolving, often the involving policing involving, whether the current findings can be still applicable in the following 5 or 10 years, still questionable and waiting for further research fundings. So thank you all, and sorry for the internet
Thank you,
problem.
Doyle. I'll be very interested to hear more on the displacement bit, but due to the time limitation, maybe we can have a discussion after during the Q&A and afterwards. So
Sure.
we'll quickly move on. Our third speaker, Dr. Lasa Subramaniam. She is a associate professor and director of Cyber Forensic Center for Cyber Forensic and Information Security at University of Madras. And she'll be talking about policing cyber crime and cybersecurity related issues in India. So Lasa, over to you. And you got 15
Thank you,
minutes.
Professor Lennon. Good morning. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm happy to be a part of this. I hope this will be useful for many people. So I will quickly brief about the situation of cyber crimes in India in the past decades. Like we started the first cybercrime police station in India in the year 2001. After the Information Technology Act, which came into place in 2000. So the 2001 cybercrime police station was set up in one of the county called Bengaluru, which is in south of India. So that time I started my research in cybercrime, and now it is almost more than 2 decades. So India in understanding cybercrime and also how it is proactive and reactive to the situation of cybercrimes. I will try to brief in the given time. When the cybercrime police station was established in India, much crimes reported because public was not aware of what is cybercrime and what is the recognition of cybercrime. Then 2005, reporting became a little vibrant, and I could see like a lot of people, they can come and report about the crimes which are very personal. For example, the crimes which happen because of ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, or ex-husband, a disgruntled employee situation. Now, in the year 2024-2025, cyber crimes are getting reported. I will simply say it's not increase in cybercrime. Increase in cybercrime, increasing risk of cybercrime is also happening in India. In 2024, complaints raised to the level of loss of rupees 16 crore rupee among the people in India. This report in various police stations. So what do we do out of it? What are the types of crimes that are getting reported? The reason trend in cyber crimes in India is most of it are financial frauds. Right? As you all know, the World Survey on Cybercrime says that India is in 10th position. The first position goes to Ukraine and Russia. And now the recent trend is like it's in the 10th position. And every country specializes in one type of cybercrime. And if you take India, it's more financial scams. A lot of scams are happening around the country or inside the country or from outside the country to India. Most of the financial scams. And also, like when we talk about USA or UK, having the crimes which are high tech and mid tech. So when you talk about India, the these crimes are mid tech crimes. So we can see that recent past, especially from 2025, we have financial scams in place and also crimes are happening. What are the types of mid tech crimes that are happening? Mostly business name takeovers. So that is amounting to large crores of money of loss for the business companies. And then we go on to crimes against the banks, cyber crimes against the banks and financial institutions. And then we move on to the other personal types of crimes. So what are the major types of financial scams that are happening? We can say that scams using phishing links. So where they are asked about filling up the KYC or filling up different amount or in which is trying to attack a person or an organization with us. We can lose huge amount of money. And also ransomware attacks are more reported in India in the recent past. So ransomware attacks are targeted on organizations and institutions, makes them to lose huge amount of money. So, in trend of cyber crimes also makes people to report cybercrime to various organizations which are working for it. And one interesting trend I can see is start cybercrime cell. Companies were not ready to report because of their reputational issue. Now, if companies are coming out to report cyber crimes and they are able to openly declare that this is the loss and they are trying to rectify what's happened and also respond to the incident. So that we have seen in India, apart from personal crimes being reported across the country. So while the crimes against the companies are getting targeted, so also have a lot of crimes happening. For example, matrimonial scams. So through matrimonial websites, a lot of scams are happening. And then the dating sites, dating site scams are also reported in a higher level. Through dating sites, the victims are targeted and they are looted with money, they are blackmailed for personal favors or anything. And we also have all kinds of frauds, starting from Amazon to e-commerce platform, some crime happening against the individual. So the product-based crimes are also high, where money, or we have like social engineering attacks on individuals, and we also have reverse QR code scams. Like for example, like one of you will ask you, or they will say that they want to buy your house, they want to buy your mobile phone, which you have put for resale. So when you try to scan the QR code, the money will be taken from your account. So these attacks are happening more among the individuals now. In addition, the recent trend is the development of artificial intelligence and deepfake. So, it's artificial intelligence crimes and deepfake crimes are also reported in a high alarming rate in the country. Population of India is next to China, almost trying to beat China. So, the uses of internet is also high in India. As you know, Asia is the largest user of internet in the entire globe. And India is one among the country which is contributing for high internet usage. And hence, crimes are also happening in the highest level, and the report is also high. I can say the awareness among the public is very huge. So the report is also on the higher end. These crimes are well reported with police, right? So how do the police or the government handle these cyber crimes nowadays? So as I told you, the first cybercrime police station was in 2001. And almost last 5 years, cybercrime police stations were minimum. In fact, for county, one county will be equivalent to one of the countries in Asia. The population of every county will be huge in India. And for one county, there was one cybercrime police station. Then, in the recent past, in the last 3 years, central government or the federal government direction that every district should have a cybercrime police station, and the people have to easily access and report to the cybercrime police station. So apart from that, we have a lot of agencies cover the cybercrime in a very manner. Our first agency is the Ministry of Home Affairs, which is the federal agency So the federal agency is having the responsibility of security for the public and the country. So they are taking a lot of initiatives to prevent people from cybercrime, both personal and corporate level. And under the aegis of the Ministry of Home Affairs, the federal body got a body called I4P. It is an international, in Cybercrime Coordination Center. So under this Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, these bodies, almost around 20 bodies, fight only against cybercrime. So this body gives importance to prevention of cybercrime. They give in and out guidelines to prevent the cybercrime, and under this body have National Cybercrime Reporting Portal. We have NCRP, which can report cybercrime easily. And also a helpline called 1930 is initiated across the country economic fraud or financial fraud against a citizen or a corporate and reported. So this 1930 helpline function 24/7 in the country, and 130 has an agreement with the service providers. For example, the service provider being the banks, service provider being social media platforms like Facebook or Insta or social media service providers. So, coordination with this I4C, especially this 1930, what incident happens, they have to react back immediately. Example, the helpline 1930 for financial scams. I am actually a victim of financial scam. I could report before 78 hours. We call it as golden hours. So we have introduced a concept called golden hours. The crimes within this golden hours, it's 100% possibility that the money which goes to the offender's account will be blocked in the gateways, and the banks will cooperate in it, and the money will get reversed to the account not more than a week of time. So this initiative is a major initiative that helps public in a large way how economic frauds are happening, how financial frauds are happening. Public is able to report 1930 and they are able to get their money which is lost. I can say that from 5,000 rupee to almost 50 lakh of rupee, public lose out of such financial frauds in India. So 1930 helps in a larger way get back the money. So what more than 78 hours? That can work really hard to get back the money in the fraudulent person's account and give back to public. That's one of the major setup done in India. Apart from the establishing
Also,
of
I think your
cybercrime.
microphone has some issue. That's on and off. Do you want to
Is
adjust
it?
it?
Is it clear now?
It's
Is it
okay.
clear now?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So, this 1930 is very helpful for the public. And apart from that, now the awareness have come to the government that we have to give importance to cybercrime in a larger way. And hence, in every state, you have a separate wing, command or wing to handle this cybercrime. We call it as cybercrime wing in every state of the country. So in every state, we have a separate body of policing that has cybercrime as their specialization. And under the cybercrime police stations are working, and the cybercrime police stations are accessible to police 24/7. So that is the situation of policing in India. And when we come to the law aspect, we have already Information Technology Act, which came in force in 2000. And after that, we have got lots of amendments. And also, we have now new law in place. The Indian Penal Code is replaced to BNS. So this BN has got new provisions like money laundering, then online frauds. So all these are given importance in this new law also, apart from the Indian Evidence Act, which is also replaced. So when we talk about law, now digital evidence is given importance. Once upon a time, there was no value for digital evidence. Courts could not appreciate digital evidence, but now the courts could appreciate digital evidence in various forms. Even your WhatsApp messages can be taken as a evidence. So e-evidence is given importance. So in all ways, the government is trying to be proactive and also reactive. And we also have another body called CERT-IN. CERT-IN is a body which is set up for incident response. So if any cybercrime happens, CERT will react to it and try to rectify it along with the bodies concerned. So CERT-IN is set up its office in every state of the country. And they work along with the industries, with the government, and also with the public to respond to any incident. The loss is not huge for corporates or persons or anyone. So from the CERT-INs, we also have certain other portals, online portals, which is dedicated to every state. Apart from the federal states initiative, every state, they do have a lot of initiatives to prevent cybercrime in their own state. And one of the major initiative by central government, the federal government, and the state government is creating awareness among the public. They do wide range of awareness programs in every social media that cyber crimes of every nature is happening on day to day. They give awareness on day to day cyber crime. They give awareness on how to handle it, and they also give awareness on how personally you can secure yourself from these cyber crimes. So I can say that India has taken a huge initiative in working against cybercrime. As you all know, now we are almost in the situation of a tension between two countries. And in these two countries, tension also, more or less are cyber crimes, a kind of cyber warfare, where the sites are getting attacked. That is what is the news we are getting. So in trying to handle every situation, and they are working very hard against cyber crimes, especially the recent cyber crimes out of artificial intelligence and deepfake. Apart from that, one more major issue in India is fake news and fake websites. So this fake news and fake websites are controlled by government agencies. Government agencies have portals where you can go and find whether this particular website is fake or original. So we can do fact check. We can also check the news whether it is original or not. And the government also have portals where they keep reporting about fake websites, saying that if I find a fake website, I can go and report to the government portal, and the portal will that particular website in the listed website saying that this particular website or news is something fake. So the public easily know which are fake websites and which are fake news. So all these initiatives are taken care of by the government, and government is also pouring money on cybercrime security researchers through its various bodies. For example, the Bureau of Police Research Development, it funds people or researchers or academicians to take research on cybercrime policing. And also we have DST, that is Science and Technology Department of the central government and also state governments. They also give lot of funding and lot of money for cybercrime researchers. And individual researchers take too many efforts to find about the new trends in cybercrimes. In fact, I myself have worked on various cybercrimes in social media and also the cyber crimes against children. One of the major concerns in cybercrime in India is like the crimes against children. So pornography. So in order to address all these things, every initiative is taken by the government. I can see a large shift of attention towards cybercrime by the public and the government in the recent past in my researches. So thank you for this opportunity. If you have any questions, you can ask me at any time.
Thank you, Lata. There was some, I think there was some audio issues that some of the message might not come through well, but we can have a chat in the QA or afterwards if there's any question. Well, next one we have we're sort of running behind now. Next one, we have Dr. Hui Pan, a visiting scholar at the Deakin Cyber Research and Innovation Center, and his research, his talk today will focus on cybercrime, policing cybercrime in Vietnam. So, Hui, over to you.
Yep. Thank you, Lennon. Excuse me. Yep. Please allow me to share my screen.
And please keep it within 15 minutes.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Hui Fan. I'm a visiting scholar at Deakin Cyber Research and Innovation Centers. In my presentation today, I'd like to introduce some overview information about the policing cybercrime in Vietnam. Yep. In the first part of my presentation, I will introduce situation of cybercrime in Vietnam. And then I will talk about the laws against cybercrime in Vietnam, policing cybercrime in Vietnam, and some challenges faced by police officers in Vietnam when dealing with the issues of cybercrime. This thing is a part of my thesis, PhD thesis, conducted at Monash University and developed during my visiting period at Deakin University. So let's start with some information about cybercrime in Vietnam. Vietnam was connected to the internet on November 1997. And since then, the country has experienced a rapid expansion of internet penetrations. At the moment, Vietnam is ranked 12 among countries with largest digital population in the world. However, Vietnam also faced the threats from cybercrimes as many other countries in the world. According to a report from the Global Anti-Scam Alliance, Vietnam has one of the highest rate of fraud in Asia. And the report also indicated that Vietnam has highest incident of email phishing in Southeast Asia. And especially Vietnamese ID was the most common ID cards were used for fraud in 2022. Yeah, this is a very serious problem. And according to a survey conducted by the Vietnam National Cybersecurity conducted in 2024, the online scams caused a damage of 760 million US dollar in Vietnam. And one in every 220 smartphone users in Vietnam falling the victims of online fraud. So these figures showing the serious problem of cybercrime in Vietnam. And the some popular modus operandi used by the cyber criminal in Vietnam are hacking, credit card frauds, phishing, especially the voice phishing fraud. The perpetrators pretend to be the officer from the government, from the tax office, etc. They are often located in overseas countries like Cambodia, Laos, Philippines, and conduct voice phishing against Vietnamese citizens. Romance fraud and business email compromise fraud. These two modus operandi are often related to the African suspects whose defraud Vietnamese women and companies and transfer money to the account owned by them or by the person they assign. Fake news or misinformation or disinformation is also big problem. A big problem in Vietnam recently, despite of great effort from Vietnam's Ministry of Public Security to combating this issue. And the last thing is, I think the gambling is legal in some country, but in Vietnam, the gambling is illegal. So for a lot of the cyber criminal organize the website for the illegal gambling for Vietnamese people to play gambling. So to deal with the cybercrime, the Vietnams have some laws against cybercrime. The key instrument to prosecute cyber criminals in Vietnam is Vietnam Criminal Code 2015. That was revised in 2017. But currently we have in the progress of revise this criminal code. And so in the criminal code, there are 4 articles focused specifically on cybercrime. As you see on screen here, articles 2088 to article 288 to 291. These 4 articles are the main provisions for the Vietnam's investigations department to prosecute, to investigate, to prosecute the cyber criminal in Vietnam. And also we have the law on cybersecurity that was adopted and passed in 2018. So in terms of policing cybercrime in Vietnam, Vietnamese Communist Party as well as the Vietnamese government has shown a determination to combat cybercrime at the national level. So Vietnamese Communist Party's Politburo of Vietnamese Communist Party as well as the Prime Minister of Vietnamese government has a lot of directive, a lot of decision to ask the agency to put great efforts to combat cybercrime. The key actors in Vietnam is Vietnam's Ministry of Public Security, and in 2015, Vietnam's Ministry of Public Security, Vietnam's MPS, has established a specialized force to combat cybercrime at the national level and the local level. At national level, we have choose central department to combat cybercrime. There are the Department of Cybersecurity and high-tech crimes and the Office of Investigation Police Agency. They choose main central department to combat cybercrime at national level. At local level, we have different units located in the different hotspots of cybercrime in some provinces and cities in Vietnam. And so recently, Vietnam's MPS have conducted numerous operations to dismantle transnational criminal network in Laos, Philippines. And as you can see on screen here, there is a successful operation conducted by Vietnam MPS that dismantles a cyber criminal network operated at the Golden Triangle in Laos territory. Okay, we arrest hundreds suspect, hundreds criminals. Despite a lot of effort and resources have been put in the fight against cybercrime, Vietnam police also has faced a lot of challenges in this battle. The first challenges Vietnam police has has to face is in terms of international cooperation. I think that is a common issue faced by a lot of police forces in the world. Yep, in Vietnam, Vietnam is not an exception. And Vietnam's police has to face a time-consuming progress of formal mutual legal assistance. So it takes months or even years to get the result and feedback from the law enforcement or from the competent authority from other countries. And the informal cooperation have been used like through the Interpol channel, through the police to police corporations, but the outcome of the cooperation have not been officially recognized as a legal evidence before court in Vietnam. So that is the issue. We also face the problem of domestic cooperation. I mean, the inter-agency cooperation, the cooperations between Vietnam Police and the other agency like banking system or the telecommunications companies. So these they provide the information like the owner or the owners of bank account or subscribers of the IP address late, and it's quite the progress of getting information from the agency is quite time consuming, and so it delays the progress of investigations against cybercrime. And the Vietnam Police also lack of skillful investigator, lack of interpreters in the investigation against the transnational criminal network, especially when Vietnam Police arrest the suspect foreign criminal. It's quite challenging for the Vietnam's police officer to interrogate, to interview, to interrogate, take statement from the suspects. And they also lack of the specialized equipment, like especially the equipment to analyze digital device seized or collected from the suspects. And the next challenges is about the complicated modus operandi used by the criminals. They often hide the Vietnamese money to launder criminal proceeds, and they use a mobile phone SIM card register under the names of Vietnamese people. They can be the drivers, they can be students, and then they use a bank account or the mobile phone SIM card under their name to hide the flow of money, to hide and to stop the chase, stop the progress of chasing the money flow from the Vietnam police. And Vietnam's suspect located in other country. So the foreign foreign criminals come to Vietnam and recruit Vietnamese people, and they bring Vietnamese people to the other country like Cambodia, Philippines, and cheat them brutally, force them to conduct the void fishing. So it's quite challenging to arrest them in the other territory because of it's not under the jurisdictions of the Vietnam competent authorities. And the next challenge is about the use of cryptocurrency to launder proceeds of crime. So after the received money transfer from victims, they is converted into cryptocurrency. And Vietnam's police, especially at the local level, don't know how to chase the money. They do not know the way to contact to some trading platform like Binance to chase money flows when the money has been converted into the cryptocurrency. And the last challenge in terms of underreporting issue. So a lot of Vietnamese victims hesitate to report their crime to the police because of a lot of them have the high positions in society. They don't want to be feel shame. They want to be influence their reputations. So they hesitate to report the crime to the police, as well as and it's also the case of a lot of Vietnamese rich women who have been deceived and lost a lot of money, but they refuse to cooperate with Vietnam police to invest in investigation. And that is some brief information about policing cybercrime in Vietnam. And yep, and that's it for my presentation. And thank you for listening.
Thank you, Hui. Now we quickly move to our final presenter, Dr. Jompon. I always have problem pronouncing his surname. Sorry, Jompon.
It's okay.
Dr. Jompon Pitaksantayothin. He's an associate professor in law from Hankook University of Foreign Studies, and he'll be covering policing cybercrime in Korea and Thailand. And I'm definitely going to invite him more often so that I can pronounce his surname well. JP, over to you.
Thank you, Lennon, and hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all. Let me share my screen. Wait. Okay. Where is it? Hold on. Okay. So today, what I would like to share with everyone is about the landscape of anti-cybercrime in South Korea and Thailand. So my presentations will focus on the law itself. So let's start. So as you know that nowadays, everybody has to use the internet for their everyday activities. And this is also the case for public sectors, governmental agencies. They have to use and circulate, store and manage our critical informations online as well. However, as we all of us know that the internet is not perfectly secure from various types of cybercrimes targeting the system itself. We call them we call this type of cybercrimes uh, uh, cybercrime against the computer system and data, or pure cybercrime. And we also have another type of cybercrime which the cyber criminals exploit the internet to commit traditional crimes. It is called internet facilitated cybercrimes. So we will look at the law of South Korea and Thailand, whether they have provisions or legal regulations to handle or combat these types of crimes or not. Let's start with South Korea. Actually, South Korea, as you know, that it is a country with quite technological advanced, especially in terms of ICT. It starts to pass the ICT laws in the mid 1990s because of the booms in the internet-based industries and online commercial services. Actually, nowadays, in South Korea, the laws against cybercrimes is not only in one piece of legislation. However, the provisions concerning cybercrimes can be found in different pieces of legislations, including the Criminal Act. So, however, one of the key pieces of legislation is the Act on Promotions of Informations and Communications Network Utilization and Information Protections. The name is quite long. In this piece of law, we can find a number of provisions relevant to cybercrimes. As you know, that one of the typical cybercrimes we typically start with is hacking and malwares, right? So in this Act, Article 848 prohibits the the hacking, criminalize the hacking, and also prohibits the attempts, prohibits the alteration and extractions of systems and computer data, and also the distributions of malware, malware as well. And also criminalize the intentional actions which disrupt the stable operations of networks. So as we can see that hacking, the disrupting or interfering with the integrations of data and normal operations of computer systems are all included within this article. The use of malware, DDoS attack, for example, are criminalized by this provision. So this provision is quite broad to cover almost all types of PO cybercrime. And in Article 49, there's the it is also criminalized the mutilations, infringement, misappropriation, and disclose of other persons' information or secrets, processing through an information and communication networks. So it is something about the disclosure of secrets, something or through the communication networks. And in Article 49.2, this one prohibits the collections or solicitations of personal information where deceitful means through such network. It means that these provisions specifically combats the phishing websites. You can the phishing website which deceive people to give away their personal information and so on can be regulated by this Article 49.2 of the sorry of the Promotions of Information and Communications Network Act. And when we move on to have a look at the current Criminal Act, Article 3472, this one criminalize online fraud. So actually, it is the law, the provisions which deals with fraud, especially something which happens online or use the computer data, to use the computer systems or computer data. And then we move on to something which concerning about child pornography. So it is not in both the Computer Network Act or in the Korean Criminal Act, but it is in another act which is called the Act on the Protections of Children and Youth Against Sex Offenses. In this act, the children and juveniles mean persons under the age of 19. So it is quite interesting because when we look at the laws in other countries, children or minors are those who are under the age of 18. But in Korea, they make it age of 19. So meaning that it has a 1 year. People who are age of 19 who are under the age of 19 are still considered to be minors or children. And in terms of child pornography, it refers to the depictions of children or juveniles or persons or representations that can be obviously perceived as children or juveniles doing an act defining in subvergaf or something about sexual activity and so on, engaged in sexual acts in the form of films, video, games, software, or picture images or something like this. So typically, child pornography in Korean law refers specifically to visual materials. Those are it doesn't include the textuals or audio materials. So Article 11 of this act prohibits the production, distribution, of child pornography. And distributions can be divided into two different categories. The first one is commercial distribution. It means that you distribute or you just sell child pornographic materials for money or for making profits. And even the other type is non-commercial distribution. If you simply distribute or disseminate child pornographic materials to other without any intention to make money or to make profits, you can be criminal. You can be charged with this article as well. And another one is facilitations. If you procure or try to lure children into the pornography productions, you will be also punished by the criminal punishment. And lastly, simply, I think it is also the case in many countries that simply possessions of child pornographies with with knowing that this child pornography, it can be subject to the imprisonment and fine as well. And especially, I think when almost the provisions of cybercrimes, types of cybercrimes that I have covered, we can find it in the Budapest Convention. However, this one is the cybercrime which it's not included in the Budapest Convention, but we will find in the UN Convention instead. But in Korea, this this cybercrime is also subjects to the Korean law as well. It is the online grooming. So Article 15.2 criminalizes online grooming for sexual exploitations. So it means it prohibits any person who aged 19 or older to engage in repeated sexual suggestions, humiliating or degrading conversations with a minor. So it means or encourage the minors to engage in sexual acts. So in this regard, it means that those people must be must be at the age of 19 or over. So it means that this provision is not applied to minors to minors cybercrimes. Minor to minor online grooming. However, what we can see is what we can see from this provision is that it aims to protect minors from sexual exploitations, especially in the manner of grooming, online grooming. So we move on to have a look at the provision cybercrimes, anti-cybercrimes law in Thailand. So likewise, the South Korea, Thailand began policies concerning ICT related law in the 1990s. And the first version of computer-related crime acts was passed in 2007, and then we have the second version, the current one. It was passed in 2017. So just like other Korean cybercrime law and also the Budapest Convention. So Thailand Computer Related Crime Act 2017 has provisions to deal with pure cybercrimes, just like Section 5, Section 7 make the hacking illegal, and also making the hacking to the computer system or computer data illegal. Section 9 prohibits the unlawful damage, impairs, deletes, alters, or change the personal computer data of other people without right. So and then Section 10, it criminalized the acts which cause computers to stop, slow down, or obstruct and or otherwise malfunction. So, and Section 13 prohibits the distributions of malware. So technically, from Section 5 to Section 13, the Computer-Related Crime Act of Thailand prohibit hacking and use the malware to damage or destroy the systems or prohibit destroy the computer data and also obstruct the normal operations of computer system. The interesting thing is something which cannot be found in the Budapest Convention is Section 14, which focuses on illegal content. So in these sections there are 5 subsections. The first one is 14.1. This one is designed to deal with the online frauds. If input false information with an aim to cause damage to other person or the public. So you subject to these provisions. And the second one is the false data which affects the national security or cause public damage. So this one can be used to enforce against fake news, which can cause the public panic or can cause the national securities in terms of public safety, economic securities, and public services as well. And the 14.3 is the data related to the kingdom security and terrorism. So it doesn't matter whether the information is false, although it is true. However, the information can cause the damage to kingdom securities and although it can cause terrorism. So that information is subject to this section. And another one is 14.4 is obscene data. Obscene data is, we can say, the pornographic materials. I mean, adult pornographic materials. If it is accessible by the public, so the person who posts or uploads such obscene data to the computer systems can be subject to this 14.4 of the Computer-Related Crime Act as well. And lastly, if you disseminate or forward the illegal information or computer data that are from which I have already mentioned from 14.1 to 14.4, you'll be subject to the criminal law as well. And we move on to the Thai Criminal Code. Section 341 prohibits fraud in general. And Section 343 also criminalizes frauds committed against the public. And typically, when people post or input information which can be considered as fraud, the wrongdoers will be typically charged with these sections in the Thai Criminal Code together with sections 14.1. So they will be charged with these two together with the Computer Crime Act and by Computer Crime Act and the criminal law. Criminal code. And for the child pornography law, it is not in the Computer Crime Act, but it can be found in the Thai Criminal Code. So child pornography in Thai law means the objects or material that depicts or conveys sexual acts by a child or involving a child under the age of 18. As you can see that it is different from the Korean law. And more importantly, the Thai law include documents, drawing, printed image, color illustrations, publications, and symbols, photographs, audio tapes, video tapes, and any other things. So it means that the definitions of child pornography under the Thai law is much broader because it also includes the text materials and audio materials as well. Sections 2871, the possessions of child pornography for sexual gratification is subject to criminal punishment, imprisonment, and fine. And if you distribute these child pornographic materials, you or forward it to other people, you will subject to more serious punishment. And sections 2872. So it is about the produce, distribute, trade, or advertise child pornography for commercial purpose. So actually, this one is not much different from the adult pornography because in the criminal code, Thai criminal code, section 287 deals with adult pornography in general, and sections 2872 also prohibit the same things. However, it focuses only on child pornography. And interestingly, Thailand has not yet has the law to deal with online grooming. However, it has an attempt to pass the law. As of March 2025, the cabinet has already approved in principle the draft amendment to the penal code by adding the offense of using internet to lure or to groom children for sexual exploitation. But at the moment, we don't have yet the law on online grooming. So that's all for me.
All right, thank
Very
you,
much.
Professor Pitaksantayothin. I pronounce it right. This links well to our next discussion, but for the audience, if you have any questions, I believe there's a QA button. You can submit your questions, and our organizer will pass the question to the panel. Otherwise, I'll pass the microphones to Professor Cheng. He will be chairing the QA and discussion session. Chet, over to you.
Thanks, Lennon. Very interesting presentations despite the technical challenges we experienced. Very detailed, a lot of content. Be good to sort of zone out a little bit and discuss, as we talked about earlier, some of the more recent developments stemming from the UN Convention on Cybercrime that has been well concluded in terms of its development and is now awaiting signatures. I invite all members of the panel to share any reflections or insights they might have on the convention, and I might just go in the order of our speakers. So anyone want to jump in first? Otherwise, I'll invite Marie-Pier. Go for it. Just unmute yourself.
Perfect. Okay, well, I can speak a little bit about the Canadian response to it, only based on kind of what has been shared in the media. That's kind of the only information that we have so far. So, well, the first thing is, in general, I believe Canada is kind of very open to that. To signing, we could say, that convention, because they do want to increase, and Canada has been well known to want to collaborate with countries and the ONU in general. But there is some kind of domestic reactions, and I took like some notes on like the few things that were kind of raised as concerns. First thing would be definitely about the civil society concerns. So anything that regards kind of the data protection, privacy protection, and the freedom of speech when it comes to sharing big data with so many countries. Canada has been known to be kind of hesitant and really want to protect the freedom of speech and privacy in general. So that has been something that was raised as a concern with this upcoming convention. There was also some reactions in regards to surveillance risk. So that kind of fear to be overlooked at from certain countries that could have some kind of political interest. So there was that, and the potential risk for misuse of this convention, and precisely when it came to that broad definition of cybercrime that the convention currently use, there was some risk of like maybe it could be kind of misused for other things than cybercrime cooperation. I would say that's kind of the notes that I currently have and the points. So I'm looking forward to see how it will go in July for the signing ceremony, and how these topics will be raised.
Thanks, Marie-Pier. Curious to see what other people might think and if they're able to share insights from our respective countries. Anyone want to go next? Yes.
Can I? Oh, yeah. So regarding the UN Convention, India has taken actively participating in drafting giving some suggestions and drafting the UN Convention. Especially, they have spoken about cyber terrorism and also data jurisdiction. So these two key aspects India has shared while framing the UN Convention. But still, it is not clear whether India will be a signatory for this convention. Already in Budapest Convention, India is not a signatory because it was not in the part of drafting. And also they were hesitating relating to the matters on data protection. And similarly, even this UN Convention also, there is a criticism that there is going to be violation of human rights by way of excessive digital surveillance and also data sharing again among data sharing with too many countries. So we have to wait and see whether India would be a signatory on this UN Convention. India has taken part in most of the discussions relating to UN Convention committee meetings, and they have contributed widely on cyber terrorism and data jurisdiction. We have to wait and see what will happen during the moment of signatory. Yeah.
No, thank you. Who wants to go next? Yeah, right.
I would like to share some of the insights, maybe not from my perspective, but insights from the Chinese police officer based on my interviews. My interviews were done in 2023, which was the year before the establishment introduction of the UN Convention. At that time, Chinese police officer, they want to have that kind of international legal framework to help them establish international collaboration. The reason they gave me pretty simple. They just want the security. They just want to protect the public interest. They also acknowledge the privacy concern, but they would consider the privacy concern would be less severe or would be secondary to the public physical financial security. May I start briefly share a screen for their understanding for the cybercrime, cyber fraud? Maybe just 1 minute. Okay. So that's here. This actually is my first research funding, but I didn't have enough time to show the details. I'm gonna highlight the. Okay, yeah. So they got this is the organizational structure for the cyber fraud organization in Southeast Asia based on interviewees' comments or their findings, observations. I'm gonna go straight to the HR branch. There are multi levels for the local organized crime. They call it organized crime. The HR branch is responsible for recruiting the Chinese and international laborers from mainland China, majorly to the Southeast Asia, for example, North Myanmar, to initiate fraudulent call, to send fraudulent message, such as group 1, group 2, to group thousands, group 100. And most of them could be like victim. They could be defrauded by the HR branch from China to Southeast Asia. So they can be victim, and they may need some international cooperation for rescuing them out from the local compound. And there has been multiple evidence to show the discipline and physical punishment towards the laborers. And besides that, that's for the local criminal groups. There are multiple globally distributed illicit markets, and they also provide false prostitution within the local fraud compound. Money laundering, weapon trafficking, human trafficking, that's all involved in this kind of the cyber and offline terrestrial organized crime. So from their point of view, they are really indoctrinized to crime investigation, to maybe provide some help to the victims, and sometimes they perceive them as offenders, maybe someone perceived as victim. So within this kind of the crime reduction, crime prevention purpose, they would prioritize security rather than privacy. The privacy would be perceived privacy for the public. And I remember one of the interviewee told me, would you want to sacrifice the public privacy, or would you want to sacrifice the life of the victim? That's a hard choice. So security and privacy, it has been a long-term discussion or debate for the cybercrime or for the cryptocurrency, any financial crime. That's from their insights. I definitely agree that privacy concerns and also the lack of the regulation on the regulator would be the prominent issues. But from their global source or maybe Eastern criminology, they tend to prioritize some instrumental rather than the expressive concerns. That was my observation and understanding. I'm gonna pause here. But my suggestion would be, it can be helpful if we can combine, if we can balance the instructive and expressive concern to prioritize security, but also develop framework to regulate the regulator, to let them know, wow, the privacy is also important for the freedom of speech. Maybe not exactly in the local jurisdiction, but can be in broader context. So how we can balance both interests would be really important for us, for researchers to think about and to discuss with the practitioners in different contexts. That was my understanding. Yeah.
Well, insightful comments, and we could go off on a tangent. In fact, I might just for a moment, even though we only have a handful of minutes left, that it's such a critical issue, this relationship between security and privacy and security and civil liberties, and it's often discussed as a zero-sum game, that in order to have more of one, you need to sacrifice some of the other. And that whole way of framing that conversation is perhaps the problem. That we need to be prioritizing both and thinking about how you have both and not viewing them in terms of a simplistic balance between the two.
Yeah.
But we probably don't have the time to get into how we might think about that at a more kind of rigorous manner. But I do agree, and I think the conversation around, that relationship in general is far more important than a simplistic kind of balancing metaphor might imply. But just on the to double click on the work that you've done and the relationship that might have for the UN Convention, any other bullet points you think might need to be added to the conversation we've had so far from your work, you?
Well, because I currently have really limited understanding for the UN Convention. I just read the convention for multiple times, but not for the systematic observation. I did some research, online research for especially from the media, no matter social media, mass media, have a lot of critics on the UN Convention. And I'm thinking the entire narrative, the entire perspective would be the Western-centric. For the Western-centric, that the expressive concern would be prioritized. Like what I said, the Chinese perspective maybe not correct, maybe not accurate, but they can bring some dilemmas for us to think about. I just look into the UN Convention. Right, there is limited regulation on regulator, limited discussion on the protocols to protect the privacy. This could be another step for us to discuss, for the researcher practitioner to discuss how to make the suggestion or how to make the convention more comprehensive. The current one would be basically like security focused, So I would say it's not the perfect convention, but we kind of need both balanced perspective to understand their purpose, because there has been a large group of minorities or unseen individuals that we could not know. We cannot connect it as its individual, not as researcher, cannot connect it to the UN Convention, because the convention can breach our privacy and endanger our freedom of speech. But we know, but most of us, we don't know. A lot of victims, they are abused, they are punished by the local cyber frauds and other syndicates for the modern slavery. How about we develop a wiser and balanced way to secure them out? And I think one of the consensus we have achieved, or we observe from today's presentation discussion, would be international collaboration would be really hard to establish, no matter from Western or from Asian background. So probably the convention can provide a channel, but different countries have different perspective to get involved into the convention. And I think we need to develop more balanced way for balance the interest between the West, between the global thoughts and global East. That was my understanding. Yeah.
Okay. Those we haven't heard from yet. Who wants to go next?
So can I add some more points? Is there anyone to speak?
Oh, okay. Then where do you get next? Yep. Okay, sure.
Yeah. See, there is one discussion which is going on, which we also need to think about. When this UN convention becomes a treaty, and later, if 40 countries sign this convention, it becomes a law. So the problem now is, can we think an uniform law for cybercrime for the entire world? Is it possible? Because every country has got specific type of crimes, and their culture also differs. It is not like child abuse. It is not like crimes against women. It is not like domestic violence. But cybercrime is something different, which is also specific to certain other countries. So, can we have an uniform law based on this UN convention that it will bind every country to follow only that law? So, this a criticism and this point is actually going on various countries whether to become a signatory to this UN convention. Because when it becomes a law, then every country has to follow that. And then what will happen to the country's law? What are the things they have to update? So what they have to follow, either UN convention or their own law. When you already have Budapest Convention and also Arab Convention, of course, they are very limited to criminalizing the cyber crimes. But this convention on UN speaks about ICT elements also, and also about multilateral conventions, getting evidence from every country and having cooperation from all countries to combat cybercrime. But can we have an uniform law to prevent cybercrime? Because the crimes are not uniform in every country. So that is one question which has to be discussed and deliberated before the law comes into act.
Great, thank you. I won't respond unless we have time at the end. But wait, you want to go next? Thanks.
Yeah. I'm a Vietnamese, so I'm so proud and happy when UN choose Hanoi as a place for the signatures of the UN Convention against Cybercrime. So yeah, Vietnamese governments also put a lot of effort to make it happen, and we actively participate in the progress of drafting, negotiating, and revising and make comments on the draft of the UN Convention. and that's why we gain the trust from the other countries, and we have been chosen as a place for the signatures of the UN Convention. And at the moment, the Vietnam's government is cooperating with the UNODC, United Nations of Drug and Crime, is preparing on the necessary condition like venues, I mean logistic, etc. for the signature in that will be that will take place in a couple of months. And according to the media, Minister of Public Security of Vietnam's told us Vietnam's will be signatories of the convention. So yep. So yeah, and I do believe that Vietnam will revise some kind of domestic laws to comply with the UN Convention against cybercrime. That's all. That's my comment. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. We've got 60 seconds to go. Any final comments? Yes. Thanks, go for it.
Yeah. So for Korea, actually, it has been invited to join the Convention on Cybercrime, the Budapest. However, up until right now, they hasn't joined yet because of certain reasons, especially the law on wiretapping. But for the UN Convention, I think Korea has already have the domestic law in place, and they can join. Easily. I don't know. It depends because the political situation in Korea now. So we have to wait and see. For Thailand, actually, we have to a lot of law. We have to law amendment and also pass the new law to join before joining the UN Convention. I think it is still a long time because Thailand hasn't even had a police plan to join the Budapest Convention. So yeah.
Okay. Thanks very much. Well, I want to thank Lennon, who had to leave a little while ago, and thank all the members of our panel for a very insightful discussion. So that's it. Enjoy your afternoons, evenings, and nights.
Thank you very much. Hope to see you
Thank
again.
you.